r/out-of-the-loop. 5 Potatoes High says, what's going on with the show The Boys? I haven't watched the show, but recently I've seen a lot of jokes and tweets about how people will watch the show and miss who the show is making fun of. What is the show about? What do these tweets mean? Scavina5882 says, answer, The Boys is a superhero show on Amazon. The basic premise is what if superheroes were celebrities and acted like the worst celebrities out there. The current season is about the strongest hero, Homelander, a parody of Superman and Captain America, courting white nationalists as they will tolerate and support all the awful things he does and applaud him for them. It draws a lot of parallels to Trump and his conspiracy theorist / white nationalist space. Charles Dickensibox says, it's worth noting the show has always been capital B blatant, that Homelander is a parody of patriotism getting into bed with racist Christian fascists. Among his very first public appearances in the show is him flying across a giant cross while in the pose of Jesus on the cross. Later, he gets literally seduced by a character named after a white power message board. The show has never been subtle about this. The only new thing is that some of the people it was parodying seem to have figured it out. IStandwithDavidTennant says, note, she's not just a reference to a white power message board. She's a literal Nazi. As in, she was born in Germany in the 1920s and doesn't age. She has lightning powers and constantly uses Nordic imagery in her persona. She lived in America during the civil rights movement and loved killing black people. In the TV timeline, that character then switches to online message boards and promotes Nazi ideology. Very blatant Nazi ideology. She pretty explicitly says it's modern Nazism, just without the word Nazi, because nobody wants to be called a Nazi. The Boys TV show has never been subtle about this. How people are just now getting that Homelander parodies the MAGA movement is beyond me. r/out-of-the-loop. Month 1183 says, what is going on with the UFO hearing from last year? The article says there would be a follow-up and legislation, but to my knowledge nothing happened. Could anyone update or explain what happened? Lamprofonia says, answer, as is often the case with conspiracies, a lot of promises were made to drum up attention but nothing was ever followed through. Brush Dazzling 4350 says, man, I remember when all the UFO type subs were going crazy saying that disclosure was happening tomorrow and world hunger would be ended and free energy would be supplied and it would be like heaven on earth. Don't hear too much from those folks anymore. Lamprofonia says, it's no different than superstonks talking about the most that's happening any day now. Thatron Dominus says, answer, I keep up with the news, not a believer, but fascinated by the prospects of aliens and what they could mean for the progress of human race. The investigations are ongoing, and as with anything that has to do with the government it's slow, and there's a lot of bureaucracy involved. Especially this being an election year, this has been put on the back burner, but there are ongoing investigations. This is the first time that there has been official investigations into this matter since the end of Project Blue Book in 1969, and it involves cooperation between a lot of departments across state and federal level, so unless we see whistleblowers currently in power, it'll be years before they end. For example, it took 4 years to complete investigation into Project Ncultura. r/out-of-the-loop. Mahalith says, what's going on with Funko Pop still being in business? I distinctly remember that Funko Pop, who make those figurines, were going to take their remaining stock of figurines and dump them in a landfill because it was cheaper than selling them off. Now, I'm reading articles like this, which makes it sound like they are going strong. 1. Was I misunderstanding the situation? 2. If not, how did they manage to recover and keep going? Cool Dude 4000 says, Answer: they make a ton of different Funko Pops and clearly overestimated the popularity of some of them, but they are still in business and trying to recover. The NPR article is worded a little unclearly, but I believe it to mean that they sent excess stock of some designs to the landfill, not every Funko Pop in existence. They're in kind of a tricky situation, since some of the appeal of Funko Pops is that they make them for very niche characters and fandoms in addition to really mainstream stuff. It's not uncommon to see boxes and boxes of ones that were less popular / overproduced deeply discounted on shelves, or even unloaded to thrift stores. Sending some to the landfill seems like a logical extension of that. Planelocksmith 6714 says, they are making a ton of crazy and uninspired Funkos for a while and they were charging crazy amount of money for them as well. People weren't going to pay $25 for some crappy Scooby-Doo Funko. They really needed to scale back. They sent a lot of them to places like Five Below. r/OutOfTheLoop 278241124 says, what is up with Reddit posts about pitbulls, dogs, getting locked so much? For example, this Not the Onion post. I get that it's controversial, but it seems almost more controversial than most other topics on Reddit. People will share their experiences with pitbulls, first or second hand, and then it gets locked. It's happened in numerous subreddits. Corvus and Tipperdom says, answer: it's a combination of several things. Some are perceptual and some are actual reasons specific dogs are specifically dangerous. Starting with the perceptual, in one corner are dog people who view their pets as children and view any attack on them as a personal affront, and any statements about a breed as a whole as akin to human racism. So a statement like pit bulls are dangerous is perceived as no different than saying your child is dumb and violent because he's black. In the other corner are two groups. One is the professional hysterics who think everything in the world is incredibly dangerous and out to hurt them and their kids. The other is ironically much like the first group, in that they view dog breeds as a stand-in for human race. They are just super racist and hate pits because they view them as the dog equivalent of black people. To compound all of this, there are a bunch of often cited statistics that vary from extremely misleading to flatly wrong. You'll hear that pit bulls are responsible for X amount of dog attacks, but this is a self-fulfilling prophecy as dog breed identification is imprecise at best. So many mutts of indeterminate breed that might get labeled as pit bulls. The media is even worse about this. I've seen attacks committed by breeds ranging from Presa Canarius to Doggo Argentinus to, in one particularly memorable case, a yellow lab get reported as being done by pit bulls. When every attack by one of like 13 breeds, and any vaguely block-headed mutt gets reported as a pit bull attack, it's going to really skew the numbers. On the actual dog attack side of it, there are likewise a few issues. One is breeds other than pit bulls who actually are human aggressive. Plenty of breeds genuinely were created to be territorial and aggressive to humans outside the immediate group. Edit, and these breeds are often mistakenly categorized as pit bulls. To his shitty owners. Any breed can become dangerous when mistreated or selectively bred for aggression. And, much like Rottweilers in the 80s, pit bulls and their numerous variants and relatives are the breed that appeals to this kind of owner. Third is oddly enough the end of professional dog fighting. Dog fights require the handlers to be able to get into the pit with the dogs and separate them at times. Human aggression was usually severely culled as the breeders didn't want to get mauled by their own dogs. So, to sum up, properly bred pit bulls are among the safest dogs possible to own. But pit bulls in the commonly used sense of any of a wide variety of breeds or mutts with a specific look, or pits from lines bred for human aggression, are in fact dangerous. The conversation isn't productive because the two sides aren't talking about the same. Gingerveer says, answer: discussions about pit bull attacks usually turn into discussions on whether a breed can be genetically predisposed to aggression. Discussions about whether something can be genetically predisposed to aggression usually turn covertly and overtly very racist. or thread full of people being covertly and overtly racist is annoying to moderate. So it gets locked. r/OutOfTheLoop. Melodic Pirate 4309 says, "What's going on with #IStandwithDavidTennant? Came across a string of various posts involving the hashtag, but trying to look into it brings up no actual information on what caused it." Reed B says, "Answer, some have pointed out the photo with the pro-trans t-shirt. But going a little further, on June 21st, Tennant won the Celebrity Ally Award at the British LGBT Awards. This likely brought more attention to the fact that he wore a shirt reading 'Leave trans kids alone, you absolute freaks' to the premiere for Good Omens a while ago. Though he's been an advocate for the LGBTQ+ community for a long time, this award and the t-shirt he was photographed wearing has put a spotlight on him for being an ally, which pisses off a lot of anti-trans talking heads, leading to the hashtag in support of him." Representation Our Loyam says, "His kid is trans also, so the issue is very close to his heart." Though says, "No. His kid is non-binary, not trans. But he and Georgia are strong supporters of all trans people." Far Administration 41 says, "Answer, he was recently photographed in a pro-trans t-shirt, so that may be it." Too Tight Speedus says, "Good for him. NGL got nervous for a minute thinking he actually did something bad." For Help Press Alt 4 says, "He did. Tennant, checks. Notes. Was a decent human. That's completely not okay with today's radicalized right. Kindness is apparently offensive to them. Can someone figure out a way to get all of them off my planet, please?" Chance Erythrapus says, "Answer, David Tennant recently posted a picture of himself online, wearing a shirt support trans youth. Graham Linehan, an Irish writer who has become so invested in his anti-trans views, even as they cost him his career, his agent, and his marriage, attacked Tennant for it, and there have been people posting on Twitter in support of Tennant." That's all for this video. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe.